Hey, Mike Matthews here from Muscle for Life and Legion Athletics, back with another video podcast. And this time we're going to talk squatting. And specifically, I'm going to share with you 4 ways to increase your squat that you probably haven't thought of. And that means that I'm not just going to give you some obvious tips, like work on your form, increase your frequency, or increase your volume or load, eat more food, and so forth. Instead, I'm going to share with you a few things that aren't talked about as much, but can make a big difference in your squat performance. So my first tip is to learn how to brace properly. Now, what I mean by that is learn how to create and hold tightness in your body while you're doing the exercise. And in weightlifting circles, just this generally refers to how well you can trap air in your torso and then hold it under heavy loads. Now, when you do this, you are creating what is known as intra-abdominal pressure, which helps stabilize your body. It helps keep your torso rigid. It helps prevent the bar from moving around off of the desired bar path when you're squatting. And the more you can do those things, the more you can stabilize your body, the more you can stiffen your torso, and the more you can get the bar under control when you're squatting, the better you are going to squat. Now, how do you stabilize properly? Well, I recommend you do something called the Valsalva maneuver, which if you want to read more about, you can click the link up here. But basically what you want to do is every 1 or 2 reps, you take a breath in that fills your lungs to about 80% of their maximum capacity, and you want to draw that air deep into your stomach. Press your tongue against the roof of your mouth, and then you hold that until you are past the hardest part of your lift. Okay, my second tip is to use the right equipment. And the 3 things that I like to use when I'm squatting, especially when I'm squatting heavy, are weightlifting shoes, knee sleeves, and a weightlifting belt. So let's talk shoes first. The reason why I like to squat in weightlifting shoes is they give you a very stable base to press off of. And if you've never tried a weightlifting shoe, you will know what I mean the first time you do put them on and squat in them. It is a very different experience. And that's why research shows that weightlifting shoes can alone improve your squat. So if you want to learn more about weightlifting shoes, why they work, how to pick the right pair for you, just click the link up here to check out an article that I wrote on them. Okay, so next is sleeves, which are not wraps, right? Wraps are like the bandages that you wrap around your knees. You've probably seen a lot of powerlifters use wraps. It's pretty common in that space. And that's because it does help you increase the amount of weight that you can lift on exercises like the squat and deadlift, but research shows that it also increases the wear and tear in your joints. So I don't wrap my knees, but I do use sleeves, which look like this. And the reason why I like to use sleeves when I'm squatting is it just makes it more comfortable. It provides a little bit of joint support because it provides a little bit of tightness, helps keep everything in place and moving the way that it should be moving. And it also helps keep my joints warm in between sets when I'm resting, keeps the ligaments and the tendons warm, which of course makes them more pliable, makes them more stretchy, which just makes for a more comfortable lift. Now, in terms of specific sleeves, I've only tried one and I liked them, so I never had a reason to try another. And the ones that I use are made by a company called Reband, R-E-H-B-A-N-D. And last, we have the weightlifting belt, which is a controversial bit of hardware because many people say that they work, many people say that they don't do anything, many people say that they decrease the risk of injury, many people say they increase the risk of injury. And the long story short is multiple studies have shown that a weightlifting belt, when used properly, which I'll talk about in a second, does increase performance on exercises like the squat and deadlift, but probably does not reduce the risk of injury. In other words, a weightlifting belt can help you gain muscle and strength faster, but you cannot use it as a crutch for poor form. You can't use poor form on an exercise like a deadlift, where you're rounding your lower back, for example, but you think because you're wearing a belt, you're okay. No, you're not okay. That is dramatically increasing your risk of injury, regardless of whether you are using a belt or not. And as far as using it correctly, the correct use of a weightlifting belt is to increase the intra-abdominal pressure that we spoke about earlier. And you do that by when you take in your deep breath, you're taking it into your stomach, you're pressing your stomach out against the belt. That is what increases that intra-abdominal pressure, which makes your body more stable, makes your torso more stable, which then allows you to comfortably move more weight. So if you want to learn more about weightlifting belts, how they work, why they work, and so forth, click the link up here to check out an article I wrote. But as far as a specific recommendation goes, I like the Inzer lever belt. That's what I personally use and recommend. Okay, so my third tip for improving your squat is to micro-load your weights. And this is helpful because, as you probably know, your number one goal as a natural weightlifter is to increase your whole body strength over time. In other words, if you want to achieve maximum whole body muscularity, then you also want to achieve maximum whole body strength. And of course, the most effective way to do that is to add weight to the bar over time. This is why all good weightlifting routines emphasize progressive overload. Sure, metabolic stress matters. Sure, volume matters. Sure, frequency matters. But more than anything else, progressive overload is what matters. If you are not getting stronger over time, there is a point where your muscle growth is just going to stall. Now, there are different ways of accomplishing this. A simple way is like a linear progression model like you find in a strength training program like Starting Strength, where you work with a given weight until you can, let's just say in this case, squat, until you can squat it for 3 sets of 5 reps, at which point you add 10 pounds to the bar, work with that new weight until you can squat it for 3 sets of 5 reps, add weight, and so on. Now that can work fine, but sometimes you will find that you just hit a sticking point. You just get stuck at a certain weight for no apparent reason. And this is where micro-loading can help, which entails adding smaller amounts of weight to the bar using these fractional plates. So instead of adding, 10 pounds to the bar, you add only 5 pounds to the bar because you are using 2.5 pound plates as opposed to 5 pound plates. And they even make 1.5 pound fractional plates. So you can add just 2.5 pounds of weight to the bar, which again, while that might not sound like much, you are moving forward. You are making progress. So if you can squat 225 for 3 sets of 5, but when you go up to 235, you just get stuck. You haven't been able to move past it. Well, what you can do is you could add just 5 pounds to the bar. So you could squat 230, and you might actually find now that you can work up to 3 sets of 5 with 230, at which point then you can move on to 235 and get unstuck. Or you could increase the weight by just 2.5 pounds. So you'd be squatting 227.5 pounds until you can squat it for 3 sets of 5, and then you could move up to 230, or you could try the jump to 235, because at that point, again, you might just be unstuck and progressing again. Now, as far as fractional plates themselves go, most gyms, of course, have 2.5 pound plates, but don't have anything smaller. So if you want to get some fractional plates, I recommend some plates made by a company called Adder Fitness, ADER Fitness. You can get them on Amazon. They are cheap and simple, and you can just bring them with you because they don't weigh that much. Just keep them in your gym bag, or just keep them at the gym, and no one's going to steal them. Just hopefully they're available when you want them. Okay, my fourth and final tip for improving your squat is increasing your hip, knee, and ankle mobility. So improving how your hips, your knees, and your ankles can move. You see, it's very common for people, especially people who have been lifting weights for a while and who haven't done much mobility work, if any at all, and who are now progressing to heavier and heavier weights, to have very tight muscles in their lower body that restrict the movement of their hips, knees, and ankles. And this can hinder performance because, one, it can make squatting pretty uncomfortable, again, especially as you are progressing toward heavier weights and higher volumes. And if you want to push through the discomfort, no pain, no gain, you can to a point, but your body naturally is going to try to hold you back because it knows that you are pushing toward an injury. So if you really are stubborn and you even try to go through your body's natural internal signals to stop, you're probably just going to end up getting hurt. But if you can just address those mobility issues and resolve them, then you are simply removing those obstacles to your progress. Now, in terms of actually doing it, it's very simple. I myself do an 8-minute routine every day. That's it, just 8 minutes a day. And since I've started it, it has made a tremendous difference in my squatting because, again, I was running into hips in particular. My hips would get very tight, my hip flexors, my psoas, and that would manifest it would make my squatting uncomfortable, especially with heavy weight, deep squatting. It would just be uncomfortable, and then it would also turn into lower back tightness, lower back discomfort. Once I started doing an 8-minute routine every day, those problems have just vanished. So to check this routine out, simply click on this link. You'll be taken to an article that is all about lower body mobility, and particularly for squatting. And if I'm at my limit in terms of links per video. I don't remember how many I can put. Head over to muscleforlife.com and just search for mobility and you will see it in the search results. Okie dokie, so that's it for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please do give it a like and drop a comment down below, letting me know what you thought, and also share your experiences with squatting with any of the tips that I've shared, or if you have any additional tips that you want to share with me and with everybody, drop them down below in the comments. And of course, if you want to be notified when my next video goes up, click the red subscribe button over there. It is free, of course, and click the little bell next to it, and YouTube will notify you when my next video goes live. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.